Hi, I'm Mc Allister. I'm the founder of a company we call MobaNode, and we develop apps. I'm answering these questions for you on a video in the hope that you learn some information that will be useful for you with regard to thinking about apps and perhaps looking towards developing your own apps for yourselves. So firstly, what is an app? App is short for application, and app is a piece of software that runs on what's called a smartphone. Smartphone is any phone that has the ability to connect to the internet is what's called a smartphone. But more commonly we think of smartphones as the ones with larger screens, such as the Apple's iPhone, lots of Android phones that are out there, other Nokias, and phones from other manufacturers, LG and Samsung. So essentially something with a large touch screen is considered a smartphone, and the programs that run on the large touchscreen phones are called apps. The difference between iPhone and Android apps, there isn't much. It's just about how they are put together and how they work. So you'll find lots of the better known apps work on both iPhone and Android. They've created versions to run on both. iPhone is solely controlled by Apple. They make sure that the apps that they have on their app stores work with their phones, and the Android market is controlled by Google, but they don't make the phones themselves. Google don't make a phone. They rely on other manufacturers to make the phone for them. It's people like HTC, Motorola, LG and Samsung. How much does an app cost to produce? Well, how long is a piece of string? It really depends on what your app is about. Gaming apps, which are very popular, cost a fortune to create and build because of the requirements involved in doing so, creating all the content, the graphics, the images, and everything else associated with them. So you can have a gaming app that will take a team of 15, 20 people, maybe 6 months to put together, and cost upwards of a couple of €100,000, to very small apps that you can try and put together yourselves based on websites, based on news feeds, things like Facebook and Twitter, which should cost next to nothing to produce. And indeed there's many websites you can go to try and to create your app for free. What steps you need to create when taking an app? First of all, number one is about the idea. What is the idea that you have for this app, and what are you trying to do with it? That's important. And before you get involved in how to program, how to set out your app, or what to do, you need to consider what's it about, who's going to use it, how are they going to use it, what are the main elements of the app, what are the functions of the app, and what are you trying to deliver to your end customer, the user of the app. So before you get near a computer, before you start putting anything together, it's important to take a pencil and a paper and sketch out your idea so that you know what's the start screen, what are the menu screens, what's involved, and then discuss this idea with people who are potential users of your app. So that's where you start creating your app. Once you've done that, you can then design the graphics for it. Once you've designed the graphics for it, you can then look at the various packages, what's called software development kits, or SDK for short, to see how you develop your app. Apple will give you an SDK, Google will give you an SDK, Nokia will give you an SDK. Most of these can be got for free, so it allows you to play around with your idea for your app and create your idea at very little expense. What's the point in making an app if it's for free? Good question. Most of the apps that MobaNode creates, and we make them for our clients who pay us for our time in creating them, and they in turn get value out of them through imparting information to their users, through having a sponsor associated with it to pay for it, or it's important to have an app for a particular event. How do you make money from an app? If it's free, you make no money whatsoever, but you're hoping that you'll get lots of downloads of your app, and that you might get other business for creating apps for other people for which you'll make money, or that you might make an app that's free and then have another version of the same app for which you charge money, and you get enough users of your free app to convert maybe 10–15% if you're lucky to give you some money for the paid version of your app. Freemium is the question. What is freemium? Freemium is a way of saying, well, look, hey, this is our free app, you can use this, but if you'd like the extra features in our app, you've got to pay for it, and that becomes premium then. So freemium is a mix between getting something for free and something paid for. So freemium is a model, a business model that a lot of companies use to try and get some money out of you if you like the free app that they give away. How to get an app on the iTunes Store. Once you've created your app, the only place that you can put an iPhone app is up on the iTunes Store, and you have to give that to Apple to review. The review process takes about 10 days, so you create a developer account with Apple, you sign all their terms and agreements, and you upload your app to the iTunes App Store for Apple to review. All going well, and if you've created an app that doesn't crash the phone, that works well, passes all Apple's guidelines, it takes about 7 to 10 days for them to review your app and make it available on the App Store, which will then go global. You can sell apps through other online stores, but you can't sell iPhone apps through other online stores. You can only sell the apps through each app store. So iPhone apps through the iTunes App Store, Android apps through the Android market, Nokia apps through the Nokia Ovi store, and if you create what's called cross-platform apps, which is an app that works on lots of different phone devices, you can sell those through other stores as well. But to be honest, most places, if you're trying to sell an app, you're better off starting to develop an iPhone app, because Apple already have a lot of credit cards registered on their iTunes service, and it's much easier to make money and to sell apps through iTunes than it is perhaps through the Android market and the Ovi market and the others. The benefits of apps, there's lots of benefits of apps. Number one is that it's a software program that sits on your phone, which sits in your pocket, which you carry with you 24 hours a day. And so it's instantly accessible. You don't always take your laptop with you, you don't always take an iPad with you, and you're certainly not taking those things out if you're meeting somebody for dinner or for a coffee, but you will have your phone with you. So apps make things very easy to share and easy to demonstrate. Apps over websites are better because they're optimized for this, your finger. This finger works on the screen of the phone, and it's optimized for that. So you've got big buttons, easy to navigate, no pinching, no zooming, no lots of scrolling. Apps are also brilliant because they can take advantage of the phone features. This means that they can be used to make calls, they can be used to find directions, take photographs, know where you are, record audio, listen to audio, take video. So they can make use of the features of the phone, which makes apps more interesting to use for most people. Any downside to apps? Well, I don't think so, but as a developer we would say that. So what I think the downside of apps is that it's still a very fragmented market, and by that I mean we have to build for iPhone, for Android, for Nokia, for everything else. So it's very hard. Not everybody has a smartphone. You need to bear those in mind. If your customers are perhaps elderly people, generally don't use smartphones, prefer the keypad enabled phones, much easier to use. So there is a few downsides of apps, but you have to think about your customer first. The key things to remember when creating your app is who's it for? Who is going to use this app at the end of the day? And design and create the app for those people in mind. The other key thing to remember when creating an app is don't try and do too much too soon. Build a small, simple app to get out there to gauge the reaction to your app and the uses that your users will put it to. Then you can put out a new version and another version and another version. The apps that we play with today that we take for granted, such as Facebook and Twitter, YouTube, these were very, very simple apps at the start, very, very simple websites, and have added features over time. And that's what people expect with apps, that they improve over time and become better and simpler and easier to use. So think of that when you're creating your app. Make it simple, intuitive, easy to use, And above all, make it delightful. Make it something that somebody wants to use, and something that somebody will come back to time and time again is important, because you want to create usefulness out of your app. You want to create a need for somebody to come back and use it over and over again, and therefore talk about it and want to do the upgrade or whatever that might be. And what are the difference between iPhone and iPad apps? Not a lot. In terms of the underlying code is pretty much the same, but for iPad you have to cater for the larger screen size of the iPad and what you do with that. So that's important. Things that work on iPads should make use of the larger screen size that's available there and present the information in a different way than you would present it in the smaller version of what's on an iPhone. But the code is the same, and you can create what's called a universal app, which is an app that runs both on iPad and on iPhone in exactly the same way. So that's important too. So above all, I think when you're designing and thinking about your app, don't get constrained about what can and can't be possible in terms of code. Think more about the idea, the concept, and your users, how it's going to be used. Put that idea together, ideally on paper first, pencil, paper, rubber, easy to make mistakes. Rub out, start again. Get those down on paper first and use those to test amongst your peers and amongst the people who are going to possibly use your app as to whether they think this is interesting. After that, take it to the next level. Do your graphics, use tools like Photoshop, or go online to a website called Balsamiq, balsamiq.com, which enables you to create mock-ups for your apps really quickly. There's another Irish website called Fluid UI, can create a mock-up for your app. And then you'll be able to take it a little further and into code. And if you don't want to do the code yourself, then there's plenty of companies like my own, such as MobaNode, which are happy to work with clients with a really good idea to take it forward to see if there's a market there. We have experience in this space working here for the last 3 years, so we know what can and can't be done. And what I would like to say, finishing off this video, is we're very happy to entertain any ideas that you might have about apps, and feel free to contact us at info or hello@mobanode.com. My name is Mc Allister. My company is MobaNode. You'll get me at Shane, S-H-A-N-E, at MobaNode, MobaNode.com. Feel free to give me any questions, any queries, any times. I'm more than open, happy to take your questions. And who knows, you guys might create the next million selling app. Best of luck.